What's the deal, my people? You know it is Don Tony Teflon back at you. Another one, usual suspects in the building once again. I told you we're here every Wednesday, folks. Every Wednesday. So you can find us. You're looking for us right here every Wednesday. With this second edition, because we had to switch it to 2 parts because part 1 was getting too long, and we still had a lot of people to talk about, and that is how to fix season 8. And as always, I am joined by my co-host, the one, the only Phil the Issues guy.
Thank you, Tony. It's good to be back here again. And yeah, we had too much fun in the last topic, and we were having a good time babbling about it and having some fun talking about the things that could have been better about season 8. So we figured we'd do it one more time. Good time, no time like now to do the part 2 and also take any of your questions and suggestions that you guys might have about season 8. And I also have an interesting thing I want to add to this thing, Tony. We'll get into it, though. I can't wait.
Perfect. That's what's up. Let's get it popping. What up to all my thugs, nerds, freaks, and geeks? You're now rocking with the best of Don Tony Teflon. If you can, please subscribe and click that bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new video. Phil, baby, what's going on? How are you? Before we get into saying what's up to everybody in the chat, and I put these glasses on so I can actually see who's in there, what's been going on with you?
Not much. I've been doing all right, just settling it on in. Excited to watch it. I started watching a little bit of Tiger King today, which we talked a little bit about beforehand. And just been thinking about this one. We had a good time last week discussing this topic, and I'll frame it. I know we're going to start, but I also want to add another thing to the discussion today on top of everything, just to confuse things as well. Also, imagine a situation where after we get through all of our predictions for a what if in season 8, what would the world be like? What would the Game of Thrones world be like? What would the entertainment landscape be like right now if it was a success? If they stuck the landing, how would people be excited? Will we have a different prequel series coming out right now, or will we have House of Dragon? So I kind of want to get into that a little bit as well.
Yeah, without a shadow of a doubt, because, a lot of people, are sour on the show because of, everything that went on with the show and everything else. And, will it affect House of the Dragon? Will it make people not want to watch House of the Dragon? I mean, I see a lot of people saying it already.
We read. I was reading through our comment section for the last video, and we can go through a couple of those. A couple people saying those things. Few people that were asking about where Bridge is right now. Wheel of Time has been dropped, so we won't see Bridge for a few years now. But he will be coming out. I believe it just dropped on Amazon this week. So Bridge basically is going to be going knee deep into that. So make sure you subscribe to Bridge 4 if you're watching Wheel of Time and to see all of that stuff. And that's not to say he won't be back with us, but this is his busy season. And also he added this last week when we asked him to come in. I wouldn't change a thing about season 8. I loved it just fine. That's from Bridge 4.
That's really Bridge is that optimist. He loves everything the way it is and everything else like that. You know what I mean? So that's why we love Bridge. But yeah, I didn't even know that was out right now. I guess I got to get on that stuff myself. I have so many shows to watch and try to comment on everything else. So we'll get that done and everything else.
Oh, I'm sorry, I was wrong. Wheel of Time airs Friday. Sorry, just to be.
This Friday it airs. All right. So yeah, he's prepping then. That means he's
prepping then.
Pre-prepping those videos and stuff. So let's say what's up to the people that we see here live with us in the chat right now. Let's say what's up to people. Look, we got Jackie C is in the building rocking with us. What up, Jackie? Jess Britt is in the building rocking with us. What up to you? See, Bob is in here, right? Really not so sure is in this building rocking with us. Lady Starfall is in here. I think it popped off, really not so sure. We got a super chat right here from Kelly Johnson. Thank you so much. Phil, Jar Jar Abrams ruined the new Batman animated series.
I don't know if he's going to ruin. This is what it comes down to, Kelly. Is he going to be just funding it, or is he going to be making it? If he's just giving Bruce Timm money to make it, I'm okay with that. If J.J. Abrams puts a lot of lens flares in that, and Benedict Cumberbatch going, "Come on," I might have a problem with it, but I think if he's just funding that JJ lost money to make the new Batman series, I'm all right. And yes, everybody, I was wrong. Wheel of Time comes out on Friday. I'm sorry.
We have Carla Wade all the way from the land down under in Australia, rocking us. We got Clarence Long watching us on Facebook. As always, if you cannot make the YouTube channel, know there's a Teflon TV Facebook page. You can join that and watch it from there too. Maybe it's easy on your mobile device to do that, or your computer, whatever. You can always watch on Facebook and get some love too. Behind my brother from another mother is in the building rocking with us right now. AJ is always in there rocking with us as always. You know what I mean? Cam, I see is up in here rocking with us and everything. I don't think I said it, but maybe I didn't say it again. Jen S is in the building rocking with us right now. Lady Starfall's in this piece. Robert Smiley's up in this piece. We got a bunch of people in here rocking with us right now. Kelly Johnson says another super chat is D. Could Daenerys get that action from the Don? Season 1, yes, because the booty was really round and big when she came out that tub. But then by the time season 8 rolled around, I think she lost a lot of weight, and I don't know. Maybe just for GP. Moose Bolton is in the building right there, rocking with us right now. All right, we're gonna get into this. You know what I mean? We're gonna get right into this and everything. Oh, we got another super chat before we do from Jenna S. And it says, in case I can't stay long, I want to be show some love. And thank you so much for showing us love. We love you so much, and thank you for supporting us as much as you do. We truly, truly appreciate it. All right. So Phil, I think we did a bunch of people last week, but there's a lot we did not do.
Yeah, so we were. I mean, this is where it's hard. This is where we should have taken notes, and that's why we're gonna lay on you guys the chat while you're watching us as well to help us lead us in the right direction if we've haven't talked about something. I know we haven't talked about Bran. We see Bran on screen right now. We haven't talked about how we could have made the Bran story, and I guess that's a good first place to start here, because we're not necessarily doing this in any chronological order. But if the end point is that we know that the end point is Bran being king from George, that Isaac's heard that, and we mentioned that a little bit last week, how can we make it so Bran being king is good?
All right, so did Bran have the best story? No.
Okay, exactly.
No, he did not have the best story. He didn't even have the third best story. I'd maybe put him in number 6. Listen, they eliminated him for a full season. They didn't put him in. So how can he have a better story than someone who's been in every season and someone who was eliminated from a season and all that? So I cannot. Thank you for the super chat. I cannot say that at all. You know what I mean? All right, so
what if
by Jackie C. That was a rumor that people thought he turned out to be the Night King. It looked like that way to me for a long time. That is a good possibility that he would be the Night King. But I didn't think he would actually. So we'll get into that. I'll tell you my theory how I thought that could have played out if that was. So let's go through the Bran storyline somewhat and see if we can somehow fix the Bran storyline in season 8.
And I guess in that sense too, look to if that is the end point in the books. So it's not even a what if. This is a weird one where we're doing the what if, because for mine is what if or how do we make Bran being king make sense and work?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. If that's the case, and it seems like that is the case, that Bran is gonna be king. That's what he says. So how could we have done that? How could that make that work? And how can we make Bran actually be king? A very good situation for season 8. So number one thing I will say about Bran is I never liked the robot Bran. Like I never liked this Bran that had so much, because we didn't see, Brendan Rivers. We didn't see him act like that with all that.
No,
you know what I mean. We didn't see him having that. So why all of a sudden does Bran have this robot Bran type situation?
Tony, I have a follow up to that, or could go to your point of saying always about the Children of the Forest. Could Bran have been sent not necessarily because of Bloodraven sending for him, but the Children of the Forest because Bloodraven had too much personality, and Bran is more of a zombie to them. Like he has less individuality, so they can control him more. So maybe they wanted Bloodraven out because to your point, he always maintains some of that personality. At least the Bloodraven we saw on the show, he still has a dynamic personality and never gets into that robot state. It's not just as simple as he became the three-eyed raven. It's also perhaps to your point of the end game with Children of the Forest, that it's because he's being controlled. It's because he more than Brandon Rivers is being controlled by the Children of the Forest. So maybe that's the reason, but they didn't spend enough time getting into that and understanding why and showing why he was so different than Bloodraven when we met him.
Yeah, see, the whole thing comes down to this to me. Now, when we deal with Bran in the books and Bloodraven in the books, now, I think everyone here is a fan of my channel, and everyone knows that I came up with the theory that that's not Bran in his body. That's actually the Last Greenseer. That wasn't Bloodraven in his body. That was the Last Greenseer. That both of them were body snatched by the evil Children of the Forest. Right? Everyone knows I came up with that theory. That's my theory. And I think that's the way it goes. So to me, when I look at that situation, I think that the reason why, this Last Greenseer calls for Bran to come up there is because his body has whittled away in Bloodraven. He needs a new body to go to. So that's what Bran is. It's just a vessel for him to jump over. And for that reason, I can't see it, going out. And we got a couple of super chats from Kelly. Let's go through it real quick. All right, I think that's somebody else's thing. All right, so let's go through the super chats real quick. All right, Kelly Justin T. Why did the Jon and Daenerys romance fall flat? I just don't think the two actors had chemistry together. And if you ask me, if you just going like that, you know what I mean? I just don't think the two actors have chemistry. That's why.
That was the number one. That was the number one fault. And again, similar to what people in the live chat, like Sydney's making some great points about how this could work. If they were building towards King Bran, then they shouldn't have omitted him from season 5. That's why I didn't think that they were planning on King Bran, even though that's George's ending. And then added on to that, the way they could have made King Bran feel earned is if they fully adapted the books. They didn't do enough seasons for that ending to feel earned. D&D didn't know how to get to it. So I wonder, that was probably in the initial bullet point thing that they had. And I agreed there wasn't enough time in the sense to make it feel earned. And it became about what Tyrion said about him having the best story. And I think beyond Bran just being king and everything Tony's saying with the Last Greenseer and the control of Bloodraven type stuff that some people are implying in some of the comments and stuff, I think the problem with it for the most part was it seemed to come out of nowhere.
Yeah. You see what you did with the Last Greenseer, me personally, like his name is the Last, right? So when you have someone if you have something that's last, that means nothing comes behind it. That's what the meaning last means. Let me give you a cheers to that right now. Thug Mug, as always, is in here.
That was my friend.
So if they have someone that they say is the Last Greenseer, that means there's no other Greenseer coming behind them. So everyone else who's a Greenseer, and this is the way we've seen that skin warging, body snatching works. If you want to keep your power, you have to have somebody with the exact same power for you to do it. That is why not Vlad, I'm calling him Vlad. Y'all know which fucking name. Don't give me no bullshit in the comments. You know, Six Skins. You know who I'm talking about, all right? Vladimir, same shit, that Russian ass sounding ass name, all right? He says it. That's the reason why he doesn't want to go in the chick in the end, because she doesn't have any warging abilities, and he doesn't want to give his warging abilities up. But he has no choice but to jump inside of her body because his body is about to die. I think it's the same thing. Bloodraven had the power, so the Last Greenseer contacted him, had him go up there, body snatched him, stuck him in a tree. Now, the same thing he had planned for Bran, but somehow Bran got free, right? So he never got into that tree.
And you're right. You did it. Bran became Blan.
He did. So when you look at it, the only reason why, if the Night King and them was so so much of a threat, why wouldn't Bloodraven take on the Night King? He knows how to use the powers. He knows how to do everything. And I think that is another reason why Bran fell flat, is because we've seen him gain all these powers. What did he do with them? He did nothing. He did nothing with these powers that we see. What did he control? Some crows and found the Night King in the sky one time?
He's coming.
But he didn't do anything. Why did you go through all of that to get him to go up there, learn all this stuff, risk everybody's life. People died for him. Hodor died to him. What did he do?
All he did was act as bait. All he did was act as bait in several situations.
He didn't stay in Winterfell the whole time for that.
Yeah, he was bait.
That far.
Nope. He could have unlocked that. Bloodraven could have sent down something, hang out by the trees. Didn't have to go that big mission. But I agree, and that's a lot of, if we're getting into the what if Bran story, we're kind of adapting this here, but for the end here, for each individual character, but the what if Bran story, or how if could Bran's story have ended up feeling more satisfying at the end. It's all about the feeling of it being useless and feeling like he didn't really need to do anything. Similar to what we were talking about with Jon last time. You build up some big conflict, some big need that he has that is connected to the Night King, some big deep thing. The Night King marks him. There's all this buildup around what happens to him and his powers and how those are going to be effective. And the only thing it does effectively, if we're being true, is verify information that Sam gets in text form on the show to support Jon's true parentage. Let me flash back and get there. And going back and seeing Ned and being the eyes so we could see some flashback scenes of the fight with Arthur Dayne and all of that kind of stuff. It ended up being very trivial for the show just so that they could get around the no flashbacks thing that they like to do on the show. Oh, we'll just have Bran do some flashbacks. And in that final battle with him and Theon out back there and the Night King shows up, maybe it might have been more interesting if after Theon died, before Arya jumped in like a fool, the Night King and Bran got into some, I don't know how you depict it on screen, but other things have done things like this well. Some sort of mental combat where they're using psychic powers of some sort. I know I'm being cheesy with this, but you guys know what I mean. Where they're both battling each other through a mental sort of battle of some sort.
Like Scanners. If anyone's seen the movie
like Scanners or something. Yes, something like that.
There's a movie Scanners. If you ever seen, and the guys have like psychic telekinesis, and you see them fighting each other, something like that. Like he had to be tackled on two planes. Like you couldn't just tackle him physically, you had to tackle him mentally.
Exactly. Also. You needed to wrap him up. Yeah, you need to like keep him busy in one plane and then have Arya do a backflip in and stab him. You know, like where he's being fought on two ends and something like that. I don't know, something to make it that he has trained for this. He's trained for all that. Again, to go say he's coming and to go into those birds and he'll be here soon. He has your dragon.
It's like the same thing that Arya went through. She didn't use her powers. She went over there, learned all those powers, all this stuff, and she still got. Listen, they beat Arya with a stick for lying. You're lying. You're lying. You're lying. She's supposed to be able to detect lies after getting that ass whooped by the way.
I am nobody.
Right? But yet she couldn't outdo Peter Baelish. She got trained by the Faceless Men, and she couldn't outdo Peter Baelish. Come on, man! Like it's things like that. You know what I mean? That this didn't work. All right, Kelly Johnson's asking Arya should have died trying to kill Cersei. What do you? I think that we talked about that a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about that a little bit, and I don't mind something like that at all. I definitely think Arya's story. And I think we were talking a little bit about that with Smoke last week. I do think that Arya's story would have been more powerful if they had gone the original route, like Tony says in the video that he put out, you guys should all check out, that like she should have died in the previous season or at a different time. Like she didn't have to be end game character. And as much as I like Maisie Williams' performance as Arya, I think that's the problem you get into with a lot of television shows when they're adapting stories or even telling original stories. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, but people the shows don't want to write off their main characters. And they want to, and the people will riot if Arya goes, that kind of crap. And I think Arya became, in the show creators' minds, a favorite to write her doing backflips, and they got into that idea of having the Night King being killed by her, so they kept her alive for longer than she needed to be.
Yeah, I agree. Jen S., thank you for the super chat. Let's just blame D&D for this mess. I mean, they get the number one blame. They definitely get the blame on it, but but it's sloppy writing, but also I don't know. I don't think they write everything and have anyone else. Someone had.
No, they had other people on the team. They were overthrown, and not meaning to get into it for us for the service of doing this. That would be an easy way out. Just say like, okay, do you know what I would do? What if to make season 8, I'd have Vince Gilligan write the show and have him and all of his team, the Breaking Bad guy, and do the final season of Game of Thrones, like take over for those. Those guys want to go do a Star Wars project. Let them go do it and have HBO hire some temps to run the final season off, and I think it would have ended up being a little bit better and doing the 20 episodes for those final times. That's
all right. So number one thing we have is that they should have understood Bran first a little bit more. They should have explained exactly what's going on. Two, he had to use his powers more than they showed him use his powers, because really we got nothing. I mean, as you said, we just got Jon's birth identity. Listen, we didn't need a little tree humper to get that. You know what I mean? Because we had Sam's document. Right?
No
one's gonna believe Bran over the document. They're gonna believe.
No, dude, I believe the psychic tree guy over the document. I totally believe it.
We believe this guy over the document. We got another super chat. Kelly John says, T, would you have accepted Dany's final offer to Jon? Me personally, I would have accepted it. If I was Jon, I would have accepted it. Yes, I would have. No doubt about it. I'm 100%. You know what I mean?
Yeah, people in the life, Vince Gilligan will always get the fucking job done.
Yeah, without that. So I think that, him doing that, you know what I mean? He basically, what did he do? Just get Dany killed. Like that was Bran's job, was to kill Dany so he can get the throne, because he's the one who threw the monkey wrench and everything else. And if he kept his mouth shut, everything would have been good. You know what I mean? He's the one who made Sam go out there and tell him and everything. They could have kept their mouth shut and everything would have just been fine. So basically, as I call the Children of the Forest peeping Toms, that's exactly what Bran turned out to be. This is a dime dropping peeping ass Tom. And then that's it. That was his whole story. So to make that better, 100%, he has to use his power. And it has to be in a way to defeat the Night King.
Yes.
And I like your scenario of being battling on both planes at the same time, instead of just standing by the tree like live bait. He's
lowered his god for a second, Jon. Get in there. Jon and Arya together. Like, you want Arya involved in it? Just like Arya and Jon are both trying to fight the Night King with their Valyrian stuff or whatever, and the Night King's swaying them both up. Bran gets up, wakes up after being knocked out, sends one last and I know it sounds cheesy, but it was cheesy anyways. Let me have it. Sending up the psychic wave, stopping the Night, holding the Night King in like a Ghostbusters trap sort of way, as Jon and Arya come in for the double slice or something after this epic long battle or something. And in the second to last episode of the entire series, I think something like that. And I know I'm going full action movie here, but if you're gonna go, they try to go that way to certain extents anyway in that final season. And if you're gonna do it, at least do it epically crazy amazing.
Well, we deserve some action. Kelly Johnson, thank you for super chat. Says, see, what if Jon had done the deed to calm Dany down? I think he did do the deed, but I don't think he could come on after Khal Drogo. No. I just don't think that he's man enough to ride that dragon after Drogo mounted that ass. I think Drogo's just too big of a man for him. She's commented, look how small he is.
It's a tough act to follow.
She said that, you know what I mean? She likes them big dudes. She was riding the stallion. And Jon, he could. I don't think he, could do it. I think that was the problem with it and everything else. So I don't think he was able to do it right. So we needed Bran to do it. If Bran did those things, then I think it'd be more acceptable of him at the end becoming Bran the King.
Especially if you say, okay, and we can get into like Jon and stuff too, but especially if let's accept that we want to change as little as possible in this scenario to try to, like, how can we save what would have been at least the bullet points here? If Jon is to leave afterwards, and Jon and Bran and Arya and whole team with Dany's help, they all stop him together. Dany still goes whatever, heel turn in a more valid way, but becomes heel turn, and Jon still has to kill her and go off to join the doesn't exist Night's Watch again. Bran being the last member of the main team that took down the Night King, it makes sense for Tyrion or somebody to say, well, Bran is the last one that is either alive or not behind bars that destroyed the Night King. he deserves it. It's like more of a reason. It's not just he has a story. Who has the better story than Bran the Broken? And I'm a Tyrion fan, but that was probably the worst dialogue ever written for Tyrion ever anywhere. Like I don't know how Peter
That's not a
Dinklage.
reason to make somebody, king because they have a story. That's not the reason.
Tony,
You know what I mean?
Tony, transfer your bank account to me because I got a pretty good story. I got
Might
a.
as well. Listen, I got a great. It was just came down the stories. I tell you, shit that happened in my life.
Yeah,
I'd be
dude.
richer than anybody in the world. You might as well
You and
take
me would be the
money.
kings of the planet. If it was done the stories, come on. You can
That's it.
take one side of the world. I'll take the other
So,
side of the world.
what's Bran's story? Let's look at it real quick. This is his story. Is he got pushed out of a window? He got pushed out of a window.
Okay, well, let's start first. He can't shoot an arrow, and he doesn't shoot an arrow as good as his sister.
Yeah, he can't match up to Arya. Arya shoots arrows better than him. Right? He can't do that. He's climbs the window. He gets pushed out the goddamn window.
For being wait, for being to prove to your point later, he gets pushed out a window for what? For being a fucking peeping Tom.
Peeping ass Tom. That's what he gets pushed out the window for.
I know you don't like defending Jady, but yeah.
Has people drag his ass all the way up to this tree.
Yeah. Gives Hodor sciatic nerve damage forever for Hodor, let alone psychic damage.
To save his own life. Yeah. He did it to save his own life. It wasn't like, see, that's what I think of. Like, people think about like Hodor. Oh, Hodor, he held the door and everything else. He didn't hold the door. He was being forced to hold the door by Bran. He didn't want to be there. He didn't consciously make the choice to sit out there and hold that door. There's nothing that he did at that time, Hodor. What Hodor did was what Bran forced him to do.
And it was past Hodor that excuse me, future Hodor had no choice. He was stuck in the loop. He had to make that decision, even if he didn't want to. Even at that point, he's like, "Fuck you, Bran, for traveling back in time and screw with me." He didn't have any choice. He had to hold the door. He didn't have any choice.
That's it. No, so he's not a hero. He's a victim.
Yeah, he's a victim.
And that's just the way it is, you know what I mean? So he did that, came back, then dropped Daimo on Dany, gets Dany killed, gets Jon sent to the wall for killing him, and just so he could take the throne in the end. Which is why I have to say it's not Bran doing that. As Mira said, you died in that cave, Bran. I think he did die in that cave. I think the children of Forest. Now, if you put in there that that's a Greenseer, then all that shit makes sense why he would do those things. Then you could say, oh, I could see why he'd want to fuck these people over because it was their plan to take over the Iron Throne from the beginning, and that's what he did.
I want to address Scott's question here or comment. Voyeurism is all right. You damn right it is, but not when you have psychic amazing powers and you can look on people that aren't in on the game. Voyeurism is good when all parties are allowing voyeurism. Like if someone's like Bran, if someone's like Bran, you can warp in there and like look through my eyes while I'm having sex with my wife or something like that. Then that's fine. If he just does it, there's a problem. He's a creeper.
You can't, creeper. You just can't do that. You just cannot just be spying on people
unilaterally with your powers. Yeah.
What did he say that one line? He said some crazy line.
You looked beautiful that night.
Yeah, I seen you when you got married that night. I watched what Theon did to you, what Ramsay did to you that night. I didn't know your ass crack was so long, sister. Yes. I had no idea. You took it so
well. Kelly Johnson asks again. We got another super chat from Kelly. Who should have died at the Battle of Winterfell? We talked a little bit about this last week, but to go over it again, or everybody, right, Tony? Practically everybody.
Just about everybody should have died. I mean, number one, Tormund should have been dead. All the secondary characters shouldn't have made it out. Tormund probably should not have made it out. Davos most likely shouldn't have made it out. Even if you wanted Jaime Lannister to make it out, you got to kill Brienne. Someone's got to go. You got to have some of these main characters have to go in this battle. This is the battle of a generation, the battle that they haven't seen versus the Long Night. You understand the stories that we're told about the Long Night. You know what I mean? Like how bad these creatures basically decimated all of Westeros until the help of the Children of the Forest, which is all a con. You know what I mean? That got them to do it. So you have to go back to that. And these guys beat them in the first battle and destroyed them all. The first time they fought them. So it just wouldn't make any sense.
Now, Why So Curious asks, what if Bran warged Drogon to make the people hate Dany? So to go more into Bran being controlled and being a tool to get him to the king and wanting to destroy all other competition, if going in this sense, to make Bran making, and to the point, I think Tony kind of was hinting at this, I think, as well. Like, if Bran is to be king, we need to, even if it's a bumpy road, we need to make it more obvious what the manipulation that he's doing to do this. Eliminating Jon in this way without killing him, making sure he's having him instead of Tyrion influencing Jon to kill Daenerys, jumping inside Jon's mind, warging inside Jon's mind. You are the only one that can stop Daenerys right now. See, that gives him another thing to do to show a manipulation that he's taking the crown, that he's taking care of Dany, and or something like what Why So Curious is saying. What if Bran warged into Drogon to make people hate Dany, warging into a dragon and then destroy? And that could have been a more interesting way to handle the Dany heel turn if Bran wargs into one of the dragons after the battle is over and starts burning people, and Dany's blamed for it. And then Bran denies it. It's like, I didn't do anything. And then it looks like Dany went crazy and started burning everybody, and she didn't really. But then that makes her go paranoid crazy because people are accusing her of doing something she didn't really do. Then the heel turn would make more sense. If she's like, see how people hate me no matter what I do? I do the good thing and they don't believe me. Now I'm going to burn you all, and then have her go crazy. Like, it could have been more interesting ways to make Bran be more of a factor in the end game, to make him being king more of a feeling. Because some of the problem is when he's king at the end, I don't know about you, Tony, I didn't have any feelings. I didn't go, oh, he deserved it. And I didn't even go, fuck this. He didn't deserve this. He's an evil fuck that took control of the situation. I just felt like, huh? That shouldn't have been the reaction.
Okay, it was like, all right, Bran's king, yeah. You know, it just didn't work for me. You know what I mean? And I think it, you could, like you say, he could have. We've seen Bloodraven warg a whole bunch of birds and shit. Why don't you have Bran like warg all the direwolf pack, or something like that? You know what I mean? Or be able to warg the dead people and turn the dead people on the Night King people. And be able to take them over. Or warg the Night King's dragon and have the dragon attack the Night King and have the Night King forced to kill his own dragon because Bran took the dragon over. Something like that to show his power would have been more acceptable if he would have been able to pull something like that off or do something. I think that's the way they should have went for it. But,
so the height of his power was controlling Hodor to hold the door? And they never mess with that. And I'm glad they didn't mess too much with time travel type stuff, but they did get into it a little bit with that little peak. And that shows an immense amount of power. But again, he never does anything with it. And even at the end, that foreboding, I'll keep an eye on Drogon, it made it seem like there was could be something nefarious there, but I'm not sure how to feel about it because I didn't get enough. And again, that comes down to it. And I know there's a lot, we want to see how this could be good. And I guess the question I have for you, being more of an expert in this regard than me, do you think George can get there in the books to make you go, yeah, this is the way it should have been to get Bran to be king, and sort of sketch out a little bit? I know I'm putting a lot on you. Sketch out how you think that might happen in the what if scenario of how George might do this.
It's got to be the story that I'm saying. It's got to be that's not Bran. That's the Children of the Forest that takes the Iron Throne in the end, playing the long game. That's why no one recognizes him. That's why he doesn't recognize a lot of people and everything else, because it's just not him inside. It has to be a situation like this. There's no other way it could be. Anything else with Bran just taking over just does not work. There's no need. I mean, if he wants to, I don't know why all of a sudden he would want a Stark to be on the Iron Throne so bad. I just don't see it. It should never have worked like that. So to me, it would have been hard for him to actually pull it off in the end. But, that's the only way I could see him doing it. You know what I mean? Just, and they also could have, why didn't they have Hodor come back as a white?
We talked about that last week. They really failed us by not having, did we have any characters other than the one wildling, the not Val wildling that we had? Is she the only one we saw as someone we actually know? And 1-1, like, or
Yeah,
one of the giants.
and we did have I think the lady bear, Mormont, but they
Oh,
didn't show her fighting. She didn't fight anyone. No one had to kill her. They just showed her come back.
Yeah, but
But she
none of
had,
our main characters. Like, that's where we get into what we were talking about last week, in the sense, if at the Battle of Winterfell you have so many of our main or secondary cast die, and we leave our main characters with plot armor alive, then in the next couple of episodes you can have our living characters haunted by their loved ones on the front of the attack, because the Night King's playing mental games and can kind of go, let me put some lights over here and move all the people that they know out in the front to psych them out, and make them sort of hesitate at the front of the battle. There's, again, all those little subtle things about some mental warfare between Bran and Jon as the central point, and Dany trying to get herself in, and then a whole season. And I know I'm getting into more of a wide-angled lens here, not just Bran, but I think if you show that over the course of a long season of the two of them working together to fight this battle and handle after this big defeat at Battle of Winterfell and fleeing south, and Dany trying to get in there, and through the whole time feeling pushed off, and then Dany and Jon having these moments. And then if I go to what I was saying with Bran taking, or going with what Why So Curious and I were going on, the riff we were going on with Bran taking over a dragon to frame Dany and make Dany look bad. Blood Raven or or whatever's in Bran could see Dany as a challenge to the control of the kingdom, and then think of ways to have a little battle between them throughout the season. So in that, I think important with Bran too, not meaning to babble too much here on it, is Bran needs to have some sort of personality, Tony. Like, he lost all personality, and to your point about the robot stuff at the end here, he's will that kind of personality really be the best king?
And no. Who wants to deal with a king like that? This is a peeping ass Tom king. This is like a basically like a time cop king, right? He gonna see everything that happens in the future before you do it, and arrest you before it happens. How fun is that? That's not a fun world to live in. You know what I mean? So I just don't see that being a good way to rule. I don't think he makes the proper king. Everything that we've seen from these kings that were supposed to be that, I just don't see him being that at all. I think he would be a terrible king. I just don't.
This is what Trevon says. Bran is able to do things with time. After 2 years of his power in the House of Dragons, they will encounter a being with 2,000 years of experience. I will lose it if they do this, and it's viable. Do you think that something like that is possible, Tony?
I don't know. Bran, after they will encounter a being white 2,000 years of experience, they will lose if they do. In the House of the Dragon, they will encounter a being with 2,000 years of experience. I would lose it if they do this. Is it viable? I don't think that they'll pull that off. I don't think that they'll go that route.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people think there's going to be a whole lot of magic and stuff in the House of the Dragon, but I don't see a lot of magic in it. I see the dragons, and you'll get some, some things that could be considered magic. It may not be magic. I think you'll get a couple of things like that in there, but it won't be any big magic, like, just like shooting fireballs or anything like that. You're not going to get any of that in there.
No, I think the big stuff like that will obviously be the dragons. I think you'll see a lot of more intrigue. And, the story a hell of a lot better than I do. I know the bullet points, and I'm specifically keeping myself away from it because I want to be as surprised as possible from a television standpoint with what I'm watching. But I expect a lot more political intrigue that is akin to the early seasons of Game of Thrones, mixed with big dragon combat battle, like lots of dragon action for the special effects. But to try to get back to what they at least interpret that people like so much about Game of Thrones. So some of the political backstabby stuff like that. The playing of, even though it's House of the Dragons, the playing of the Game of Thrones. And yeah, as Why So Curious, at least we'll get more Game of Thrones, hopefully. There's such a weird thing for Sansa to bring up in the council. Okay, so if we go into... Sansa? Yeah, with Sansa and her separating from with her own kingdom. Did you like that? Did you like that Bran ultimately is king? We talked a little bit about this last week in the sense of if she's doing that, why isn't everyone? Robert Aaron's like, well, I'll make anyone that flies that tries to take my kingdom, the Vale is its own kingdom too. Like why didn't everyone just start doing that right there?
Well,
And
you got this guy. The king is her brother, and he's not going to go against her.
no,
So he ain't going against anyone. He's just sitting there. It's not really saying much. So who's going to go against it? And at that time, she's probably the hottest chick left. So these old men want to marry her and stuff like that. So we're not going against anything that Sansa says. Now, Sansa becoming Queen of the North, I predicted that like 7 years ago that was going to happen. That she was going to become Queen of the North. Knew that would happen. I just don't like the progression of Sansa's character to get to that point. And I have no problem with her being Queen of the North and all that, but I don't like the progression of her getting to that point.
I think you said a key word there because there wasn't much progression with Sansa. We talked a little bit about this, I believe, at a different time too. They kept hinting at changing of Sansa. Before season started, we're going to get Darth Sansa. We're going to get this kind. We're going to get a change to her. She's going to grow from all the fictitious horrible things that happened to this character, not a person, but all the things that happened to her didn't seem to really change or make her, or they didn't understand how to write her character in a way to show any growth. It just ended up going into similar patterns in the way they wrote the character. And it was, instead of showing us that she was the smartest person in the room, we had to rely on other people telling us she's the smartest person. Arya saying Sansa's the smartest person. Oh, if Arya's saying it, this must be true. Peter Baelish being written stupid in that season to battling against her. Like, let's write Littlefinger stupid to make Sansa seem smarter. And I feel like a lot of that happened in that season because they didn't know how to write the character growth in her. So they made other people around her either tell us she's smart and crafty or have the other people that used to make better decisions seem stupider for whatever reason. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the biggest problem with her character in season 8 for me. And I think that was just a big problem of them, again, not sticking to source material and showing the growth of her as a person. And I think George handles that great.
Yeah, I think that what happened is that they truly wanted to do the Ramsay Bolton rape scene. Now, in the books, the rape scene happens with someone who's pretending to be Arya, but it's not Arya. That's who he does it to. So they couldn't do that because they didn't have a character to pretend to be Arya. So they wanted you to care about the person that he was raping. So they had Sansa. Oh, who's in that position to do it? All right, let's do that to Sansa. Now, that just takes away everything that you had about Sansa by allowing that to happen. It takes away everything that you built up to that point when you allow that to happen. So you can't do that. You should have had him do it to somebody else and not Sansa. You know what I mean? And that's just the way it should have been, because you just, all the growth you showed for her up until that point, you just got it taken away by allowing her to be violated like that.
Yep.
And to provoke him, by calling him a bastard every second she could get. And this, that, and the other, and always provoking him. And she was supposed to feed him spoons of honey and wrap him around her finger. That was the way she was supposed to do it. She was supposed to make this guy just want to be with her forever because her pussy was so good and everything else. Just like she's supposed to do to him what Dany did to Khal Drogo. That's what she was supposed to do, and she couldn't pull that off.
Now, Emily says or asks, how could the Northmen support Sansa when she married a Lannister and then the most hated lord in the North? So stupid. I think the only defense of that I can say, if just to argue the advocate of the devil here, is that because she brought in the people from the Vale and theoretically saved the North. But to your point, there is a lot to that, especially the marrying a Lannister. She's gone a lot of ways to show that manipulation, to put Jon out on the deck when Jon comes and shows up with the Dragon Queen, bowing to her. It puts Sansa she played to the audience a little bit. But it's still hard for me to imagine that after all of that, I guess you're supposed to assume that because they have so much respect that she even told her brother to fuck off and that the North is on their own, that they all follow support on her. But then there's where we go again with the thing I said at the very beginning of last week. I don't want to just say we needed more episodes, but we needed more episodes after what was happened to show like an aftermath few episodes to show the North rally around Sansa. To see how quickly that happens and how effective. Did she have to play any game herself to get that queenship, or did they just rush to bring her as queen on the way home? Yeah, Sansa's queen, yay! Like, I want to see that. And some people don't like to see that stuff, and they can just accept, oh, this is what happens with an epilogue. I think some shows that sucks because you have these huge buildups and then you end things on quick epilogues that just sum stuff up. You could say that even like the Harry Potter series. At the end of all of that, stuff, they have them. Spoiler alert. They've maybe beat the bad guy, but you have the conclusion of the story, and then right at the conclusion of the story, it fast forwards 19 years practically to like, now they're on the train and kidding off. No, I don't always want that. I want to see kind of what happens, especially with something like Sansa becoming Queen of the North. Like there could have been some interesting stuff in the North, Tony, that they could have gotten into about, who supports her, who supports a completely free North. Like that, the last two kings that they've had that are Starks hasn't worked out too well. Rob, they didn't like that after a while, and Jon brings in a dragon queen and then gives up his throne to her. So I don't know. I think it's not as simple with Sansa.
It's not, but I just think that they could have did it better. Now, how they could have done it better, if they really had to have the Sansa rape scene in there or anything else, you would have had. This is how you make that work, and you still have them have. You have her just manipulating Ramsay. You make Ramsay kill that girl that he was seeing because of her. You make it seem like she's got Ramsay wrapped around his finger. He'll do anything that she says. You make it seem like she learned all those things and everything she did was working and blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden, he just flips out. That's how you do it. And then he goes into that. You know what I mean? You do something like that. You don't have her there chastising this man. You don't have her there calling him a bastard every 2 seconds, knowing that's just going to upset him and get him doing that. You don't do that at all. You know what I mean? You get him out there popping, man. You have her going out there. Oh, she's got Ramsay locked up, and when she thinks she's got him locked up, nope, shorty, you ain't got me at all, and I'm gonna show you what I'm gonna do to you. And then you show the evil, because I think they wanted people to hate Ramsay. And they were doing anything to make people hate Ramsay. You know what I mean? So this is how we're going to make him hate him the most, by him doing that. How can we make him worse than Joffrey? Yep. Right? And with Joffrey, the threat was that he was going to rape her. He said, I might come into your bedroom when you're sleeping and do whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever you want. So this was the threat. So now we have the fulfillment of the threat by Ramsay to make him seem better, more evil than Joffrey. And it just didn't work.
Instead of building on other things and building it to create a better story for Sansa, because both of us, whether you want to think that either of our, this could have been better or any of these what ifs are silly, the point is that's part of the point. But the point is that I think what makes good A Song of Ice and Fire stories is usually when things are more complex than just. And I think the later half of 7 and 8 became too simplified. And with everything you're saying about Sansa there and some of the stuff I was talking about, it just adds a little bit more depth. And I think and I mean, that's a similar complaint to some of those.
I have a really good ending.
Do it before you forget it.
I got to really go. All right, people in the chat. And the person who said that this channel is really underrated, thank you very much.
Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie. Thank you, Freddie.
We both appreciate that. Well, listen, this is how it should have went. Now, y'all tell me. You tell me, and I'm dead as everyone in the chat, all 75 of y'all people out here watching this right now. Thank you very much for being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up and subscribe if you aren't already. All right, to Teflon TV and Phil the Issues Guy. Definitely check it out. And if you want to call up, we do have a phone number you can call. Phil, the phone number is?
It is 781-990-8509. Again, that's 781-990-8509.
Yeah, so definitely give us a call and we'll put it in the chat for you too. So this is how, listen to the Don right here. Y'all tell me if this is what you want, if this is what it is. Instead of, this is how you set it up. Instead of having Sansa go out there to marry Ramsay, you have her go out there to marry Roose. Right? You set that up. Like she's going to marry Roose Bolton. That's the reason why she's going there. So Roose wants to solidify his power in the North, so he's going to marry the daughter of Ned Stark. And then behind Roose's back, she's manipulating Ramsay, and then it seems like she gets Ramsay to kill Roose.
Yeah,
because of her manipulation.
That makes so much more sense.
And then he kills Roose, and then when she thinks she's got Ramsay, then Ramsay's like, "Oh no, I didn't do that for you. I did that for myself." And then he could do the rape scene or whatever. You know what I mean? Set it up that way. I think that's the way it should be, like that.
I mean,
so that. You like that?
I like that a lot, just simply because I think the killing of Roose by Ramsay was messy in the sense of it just didn't make a lot of sense. In the sense of how easy it was. If you set something up better with Sansa influencing Ramsay to do something like that, you can have like sort of a longer kill, and it's not even just a stab. I think to Oz with Adebisi and O'Reilly killing the mafia guy by grinding a glass into his food and making him eat it and die over time. I think you could have done some weird story where Ramsay can't kill Roose in the way that he killed him, because every Roose's men will turn on him. Like, you just can't, it's not that simple. You can't just kill your lord like that right in the front of everybody and be like, oh shucks, I'm in charge now. At least I don't think it works that way. But you would have a way that Ramsay has to kill Roose, or decides he has to kill Roose, but it needs to be more sly. So he thinks of a way of slowly poisoning him over time with Sansa's help, or it's like just a huge manipulation of sorts. And then she's working at the same time to tell Roose what Ramsay's doing, or some sort of fucked up manipulation. If you have to do, like you're saying, if you have to do that, okay, you don't want to bring Jane Poole into this. You don't want to bring in another random character to do this with. So we need to do this with Sansa because we want to get Sansa out of the veil and blah, 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 blah. So, okay, we accept all of that. Then this is just more ways of making it interesting. Yes, and everything Adebisi did by definition, Karen, is pretty much was, or most things in Oz were actually.
Would you rewrite Stannis to be the man and kill Roose and Yeah, of course I would. If it was, I think that's the way it would be in the books. But he didn't make it to that season. That's why we haven't talked about the Stannis, but he should have, and he should have been the one to kill them. There's no doubt about it.
Funny, stupid side story about Oz. I was at one of those weird, like local conventions. I actually got to meet Roz and Hodor at that one too, and I bumped into Ernie Hudson that was there. I have a picture with him with the Ghostbuster stuff. I was staying in the same hotel, hung out with him in the elevator for a bit, and down the front hall. Really great guy. But the first time I saw him, I got scared. I went, ah! I got scared. I jumped back. He's like, what's the matter? He's like, you're gonna say something like, are you afraid of no ghosts? I was like, no, I saw Leo Glenn in front of me. I thought I was being brought down to the hole or something. He's like, not many people mention Oz. And then we got into, it was like a good entry point with him, because he's like, everyone always asks me about the Ghostbusters, the Crow or whatever. And like, I was like, oh, I want to hear all about Oz. And he couldn't have been a cooler guy. And, sometimes you meet celebrities and they're a little weird, but Ernie Hudson was probably one of the nice, having met a few of those people at those conventions, Ernie Hudson was probably the nicest guy like I had met. He just awesome. He talked to me about Oz for like a half an hour and talked about how he got this job through the show St. Elsewhere. And that's how a lot of the people that went on Oz got through St. Elsewhere. So anyway, sorry for the little Oz rant, but
see, the thing about what the Sansa rape and this is the whole thing about Ramsay in the books compared to Ramsay in the show. Ramsay in the books is like 6'4". He's like 300 pounds. He's a brute. He's a big brute. He doesn't have like good fighting skills, but he's big and strong enough. And he's not evil. He's not crazy. He's just evil. He just likes to torture people. He enjoys doing these things like that. So this guy playing Ramsay is just no threat. I mean, he just looks like a little pipsqueak.
He looks like an evil guy from like the vampire movie with Batman there with like Twilight. He looks like he could be in Twilight. Like, yeah. No offense. He plays a real evil character, but I'm saying the actor, the way he looks like he could be like one of the vampires in Twilight.
Not a physical threat.
No.
He's not a physical threat. He doesn't make you think like if you're alone in a room with him, he's gonna take you.
He's no
You know?
strong Belwaz or something. You know,
Yeah.
Ramsay should be like, you know, like a big figure, right?
Like the Hound. He should be something like the Hound.
Yeah.
Like where you learn to be like he can get you. You know what I mean? And that's what it's supposed to be. You know, and this guy's was not that type of actor. He just was too small, and they probably casted him because Kit Harington is small. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. But then you have Kit Harington kill the Fen, who's huge. You know, so you could have had a bigger guy because it worked with the Fen. And kinda, I mean, it didn't work for me, but you know, it's what it is. You know.
And to Emily Christina's question, no, you're not the only one. Having doing after shows after every episode of Game of Thrones, I got to give much love to the wonderful Timo. And Timo used to refer to different guys on the show that she'd lock them in the basement. And Ramsay was top the list. Like, so you're not alone. I think that was part of it. Ramsay definitely fulfilled that bad boy thing for the show, and
Please. The guy went there and fought the Ironborn with no armor
no
on,
shirt, yeah, no shirt on, right? They were aware of it.
So yeah, and this girl can throw an axe across the room and take people out, but she can't catch this guy one time.
Nope.
It was ridiculous.
Tony, come on, he's Ramsay. He could do that.
Kurt Harington is not 5'9". He's like 5'7", 5'6". He's not 5'9".
5'9" with high heels on, maybe. But
yeah,
who knows?
Yeah.
And let me go. Let me see. Kit Harington.
They got him listed at 5'8". Sophie Turner's taller than him, and she's 5'9". So you know what I mean. They got him listed at. I don't even think he's 5'8". I think he's smaller than that.
Yeah, you've been weighed and got height at like football stuff and boxing and stuff. Like you no weigh-in or measurement is ever, unless it's at the doctor's office, is real.
It's always bigger. Anything you see online is always bigger than they actually are. 100%. They're always bigger. He's not 5'8". You know, Sylvester Stallone came up to my shoulders, man. The top of his head was at the top of my shoulders, and he listed at like 5'8".
So he's got to be like what, 5'6", 5'7", then something like that.
5'6" and a half. He's tiny, man. He's mad short.
Oh, we got Bridge for the live mother effing chat right now. Great to see Bridge.
Always great to see Bridge, the other usual suspect in the building, right?
Yeah, and as I met,
check out Bridge Force channel, especially starting Friday, Saturday when the Wheel of Time drops. He will be covering every episode there and giving you all the background, everything to keep you familiarized with the show without spoiling the show for you.
Absolutely.
You know, a lot of these YouTubers and stuff go out there and they keep you familiar with the show, but they actually spoil the show for you.
They spoil it now in the titles and in the thumbnails, and articles are doing that more. Like I want to be surprised when I see some stuff. Yeah,
Bridge is the type of guy, he'll keep you informed without spoiling it for you. So definitely check him out for that Wheel of Time content.
Absolutely.
100%. All right, so
Tom Cruise is like 5'4", so someone says. Though I have to say, shorter guys have a temper. Ramsay's so small, it isn't off for me. Seems like most TV movie stars are little twerps. Part of it is like just filming, and it's easier to film shorter people and stuff. And there's something about, so it doesn't matter as much. You know, there used to be a time where you had to have your action stars look like action stars, but with filming techniques now, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, Jason Momoa, I met him in person. He's not as he's a muscular guy, but he's not as muscular like The Rock. He's not like that. He's just tall, Jason Momoa.
I don't want to go on too much of a side rant. We've talked about this before, but when Tony, when we were at one of the Con of Thrones, and we met Gendry, the actor that played Gendry. He on screen he doesn't look huge, but he definitely looks like a big guy on screen. You see him in person, he's shorter than both of us, and much smaller than you. Like in the sense of like he's skinny, like tiny skinny arms. And
my arms are bigger than his arms. My biceps are bigger than his biceps. My back was wider. My shoulders.
Yeah. I was definitely taller than him. He was he seemed a lot smaller than he does on the show.
Yeah, he was real small. He was real. He was all about that Gilly boy. He wasn't trying to leave the actors who played Gilly alone.
She
He was
must
all about
she
her.
must have said, "Don't leave my side on
She,
it." Like,
she was all about him. She
he
was
was
right
he
for him.
was way more social. She didn't really make much eye contact.
No, she was not social at all. She
She's
was
like,
not
"I have to
social.
smoke cigarettes, so I'm gonna be out here and do this."
Yeah, I
But
just gotta
he,
keep smoking.
I think she might have pet my dog once. Like she put her hand down and went, "Good dog," or something like that. He just looks big compared to Maisie. Very true. The dude is tiny. He looks big compared to Arya. Okay, dude looks.
All right, so I guess we sussed out how we would change it. How we. No,
Yeah,
Jason Momoa is not short. He's tall. He's tall. He's just not as muscular as you think he is. He's in good shape, but he's not as like if you see The Rock, he's a monster. Like
Yeah.
that's if you see Batista, like they look like they doing like those guys are monsters when you see them. Like they're like it's like seeing Hulk Hogan. Like that guy in his prime, Hulk Hogan, he's a monster. Like he doesn't they don't look like normal human beings. They look like He-Man action figure dolls. Like
You're
those
seeing
guys
Andre the Giant in front of you or something like that. Seeing huge dudes.
Yeah, if you ever see Shaq in front of you, see it's a giant. Like he's truly a giant. Like these guys aren't as big as that. They're not as big as these dudes at all. And that's
It's hard to get perspective of that unless you're right, like
yeah, you got to be right there in the front of them.
Because if you watch basketball on TV, you see the guys, they're like 6'1", 6'2", and they look tiny on the court. Especially back when you had people like like Patrick Ewing and Akeem Olajuwon and Mutombo and Shaq and all those huge dudes running around in the 90s and stuff like that. And then you have like small dudes, or a guy like my height, was like Dana Barrows. I just picked up a
that's Chris Rock said that. The Joker said Kobe Bryant looks small. Yeah, next to Shaq.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Kobe Bryant's 6'6". He's not small at all. But he looks small when he's standing next to Jack.
Dude, I remember when I was a kid being down on the Celtics, we got randomly like won tickets on the radio for like really close to the bench Celtics tickets, and I was down there with like Kevin McHale and Robert Parrish, and I'm just like, oh my effing god! Like I couldn't believe how big these dudes looked. They're just so huge.
Them dudes are huge. All right, let's go on to now. Who is someone else that we did not cover yet? We covered Arya.
We covered Arya.
We covered Dany.
We covered Dany. We covered Jon. Do we talk about Jon? No, we didn't really talk about Jon going off to the Night's Watch.
All right, so let's cover Jon so much. I think it may overlap a little bit.
Because what we did talk about is wanting to have a final battle between the Night. We talked about Jon in association to a lot of things, so we may repeat it with Jon. I think the biggest thing right off the bat is something we already said. He needs to have a fight with the Night King. And lose fucking lose,
because he hasn't lost a fight in the whole show. I mean, he's kicked everyone's ass he's ever fought, Jon. So he needs to take an L, and that's the bottom line. He should have lost to the Night King.
The closest thing to a loss is Hardhome, but he didn't actually lose the battle. He killed a White Walker fairly easy there and escaped. Yeah, it was like heart pumping, but he got this, but. Again, he needs the loss. You need to see him get a big defeat. And I'm not talking by Carl Tanner from Gin Alley. Like he needs to really get his ass kicked.
Yeah, he needs to get worked. You know what I mean? Beat down. He should have lost that battle without a shadow of a doubt to him. He should not have won that battle. He should have lost that battle. And I think that, I mean, as we said before, and I think they should have all lost at Winterfell, and they should have had a retreat. And then it should have been a second battle with the White Walkers that they should have been able to get it.
Tony, imagine a situation where he's up against him, and there's many ways we could talk about him defeating him, and I think you've set up a scenario similar where he stabs, where he thinks he's having the normal fight with the Night King, this first encounter with him, beating him in the battle, actually beating him move for move, and it looks like Jon's about to get the upper hand, and then he goes to slice him with the Valyrian steel sword, the same thing that's killed all the White Walkers up to this point, and the steel on the Valyrian steel on Longclaw shatters. And he's just like, shit. And the Night King's like, what? And then Dany comes and saves his ass and gets him the hell out of there or something like that. Or at that point he goes, fuck, and runs in the other direction just to save his, because what you do there. Or Bran, get out. Bran pops in his mind like Obi-Wan. You must exit. You must leave right now, Luke. You can't handle this.
Yeah,
And
you
then
could just like that, and then you could have had him have, Heartsbane. He
yeah,
could have got that sword, and then Melisandre could have lit that on fire, and then the magical fire, or Bran could have did some type of
right, with
magic.
Bran with the mental block and stuff, something that
Yeah,
lifts
done
the
something that could have put that sword on fire like Azor Ahai. That now that sword has the ability to stop the Night King, but right off the back it didn't. It should have definitely something going on like that. My man Big Cav's in the building right now,
big cat.
letting us all know it's 68 degrees in San Diego. It's called FU. I got snow over here. So.
Yeah, do you realize it's starting to get cold? We actually had to put on the heat here today. Oh, fuck you, Big Kev. Love you, Big Kev. Hope all your flushes end up the nut flush, buddy.
But thank you for rocking with us, Big Cat. Big Cat's my man. You know what I mean? He's always rocking with us when he can and stuff. That really do appreciate that. But nah, you needed Jon to take the L, and you needed that sword not to work. You know what I mean? You needed to have a different sword at the end. Whether it was Heartsbane or they had to take. So what if they had to reforge ice?
So yes, some bullshit, some Freddy Krueger bullshit where they have to dig up the bones of the original Night King and burn it here to do this. Like, I don't care how convoluted and bullshit he is. I don't care what little items you need to collect to create the ultimate weapon. But for whatever it's worth, to really create menace at that point in the season, the best thing to do would be have Jon lose big to the Night King in some way and not be able to kill him in the easy way that you kill all the White Walkers with a Valyrian dagger of some sort, or not. I was just saying that's how he died, but I'm saying he didn't even get a sword slice. He just got so it's just Valyrian steel. The minute Valyrian steel touches any White Walker, they just and die. It's that simple.
And die. But the Hound can catch it with both hands, right? He caught Brienne's sword with both hands. The Hound held up that Valyrian steel sword, no problem. Right, and was able to do that and smack her with it, basically. Right, the Hound could do that with the Valyrian. It's the same sword that Brienne swung and it shattered somebody's sword, but yet the Hound can grab that Valyrian steel sword with his hands.
Only
if it touches the Night Walker's ass, all of a sudden they just shatter it to nothing. That's just what it is.
One sword. It should only be one sword can bring down the Night King with the magic spell and the weird stuff. And I know I'm being so cheesy here, but it's just I'm a little drunk. I don't care. Like you add a magic spell and create the fire, like you said. Melisandre has to make the sword light up and get fire, and only that lit up some sword with an incantation like the rebirth of dawn or some crap, something that makes sense and is interestingly written that has to all come together to form the perfect situation to defeat this enemy. It's not just drop it on the ground and it smashes. That's just so unclimactic.
Yeah, as Kelly said, how would Jon get his hands on Dawn? It should have been Dawn. They had Dawn at his bed, right there, leaning on his bed when he was born. Follow that up. Why do we see this sword there? Bran, use your powers. Oh, this is the sword that can actually kill the Night King. Where do you put it? You put it in Lyanna's tomb.
Or Howland Reed has
right there. You have Howland Reed show up with it. That works too. But you put it there, and then you have the actual sword that can kill the Night King, Dawn. Something like that. It should have been something else. It should not have just been a Longclaw. He should have definitely had something else going on.
And again, it wasn't even Longclaw. It was the dagger that stabbed Bran. It was or that was used to try to attack. It was just a little dagger that ultimately did it. It wasn't even a sword. And we forgot about the Danes probably, and we never saw Dawn. And I was just going to say, Karen, you actually answered KP. You said exactly what I was going to say in your second comment. Well, we kind of did, because we did. We kind of saw it. We saw it once briefly, and it's never really addressed as being anything special. We just see it on the side of Dane during the fight as one of his two swords that he's wielding. It's pointed out in some videos that you can see it, and it is supposed to be Dawn. They just don't make a big deal about it. But where is that sword?
Why lean it up against the bed like that? You know what I mean? If you're gonna lean it up against the bed so you can see that the handle that it's Dawn, You got to be leading up to something with that. You know what I mean?
That's where you're dealing with. And I hate to always go here, but that's where you're dealing with people that are dealing with a world that they don't fully understand, and that they just know that they have to do that, but they don't know why they have to do it. So there's no payoff on the show with it. So, and again, this goes to basically what we're the whole thing that we can talk about here, that we're going to see an end to these things. We're going to get a chance to see if this what if happens, because some of these endpoints are actually going to happen. Do you think we will see some sort of great other in the book, some equivalent of the Night King?
The Night King will be there. There's no doubt about it.
Will Jon have a battle with him in the books?
Yep. George R. Martin doesn't skimp on the sword fights. He puts those shits in.
And will Jon be able to kill him as easily, you think?
Nope, it won't. He's gonna have to kill Dany. He's gonna have to fulfill the Zorahide prophecy. He's gonna have to put the soul in the sword to make it work. That's just the only way it's gonna go down. That's it. That's how Dany's gonna die. It's not gonna be her being, going crazy and him killing her. He's gonna kill her, but he's gonna kill her as a sacrifice to kill the Night King, because there's no other way to kill this guy but that. And that's what it's gonna come down to when it's all said and done.
Yeah, and that solves a lot of problems and makes a lot of things a lot more interesting. So with Jon, okay, we say in that situation, I think that spells it out. I'll jump on board with that. Jon is more interesting in that scenario. Then in some sort of, just to combine all of our stuff here, Jon and Bran together with Arya's help, possibly if she's not dead, all need to sort of multiply attack the Night King on multiple fronts in a second huge battle, to take him down, to have the right sword, to have the Bran distract him for a little bit with some sort of mental combat, to sort of at least distract him for a second, to give Jon even a chance to get close to him, and Arya's there to sort of give him another distraction because she has the speed to sort of like at least flip around there and do some stuff. Jon kills, the same thing happens. We're going with Dany. He has to kill Dany. Do you like that he leaves to start the Night's Watch and goes beyond the wall? I think him going beyond the wall could work, but I don't like the way it was done.
What's the reason to start the Night's Watch if the White Walkers are already defeated? That was their purpose, right?
Was that just a trick to let him go free, basically? But if that is, I would want to be in on the joke. To me, I agree. So was that just everyone's way of letting Jon go free without letting him go free?
Number one, let's go through that. He should have never been. He should have been executed by Grey Worm.
Yes, of course, immediately.
He should have been executed right on the spot.
Tony, we've talked about this a lot, but think about the immediacy. And I'm repeating, I believe we talked about this last time too. Think about it, everybody. The immediacy. And right after Jon kills, Jon has to explain to them that he killed her. And how's Grey Worm not just immediately go dead?
Immediate. It would be instant. He would kill her. He was killing people when Dany was killing innocent people. He jumped right on it, Grey Worm, and said, all right, let's go. And he just started stabbing people. And Jon's like, stop. And Grey was like, fuck you. My queen's killing people. I'm killing people. That's what I'm here for. I'm here with her. I'm not here with you. I don't give a fuck what you say to me. I'm with her. I'm her people. I'm her backup. This is what we're doing. This is what she says we're doing. This is how it's going down. And that's just the way it goes, you know what I mean? And they showed none of that shit right there. They just showed, so there's no way he would have been killed. Jon would have survived. If they were able to grab him up and put him in jail, he would not have survived. They would have killed him. They wouldn't have blocked him up. They would have killed him on the spot.
No, who's there to even...
And like they try to say, oh, Grey Worm, you can't kill Jon because we got an army outside that. Grey Worm don't care about dying. His woman is dead. His queen is dead. You think he cares about his own life? He doesn't care about his own life.
And who's right there to stop him? Stop them in the immediacy. Like where is Sansa? Tyrion's walking around there too, but Tyrion came to see Jon and told him basically to kill. I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since I saw it. So Tyrion comes to Jon and basically the night when he's in jail and visits him in the cell, right? And says, you need to go kill Dany or something like that, right? And then so So it's Tyrion that's going to say you can't kill Jon. We need to call council. So you're saying Tyrion stop, or are we saying that Tyrion stopped Grey Worm from killing Jon?
Yeah, Leah, and let
No.
me address it. So I see some comments in here saying that Grey Worm couldn't kill Jon. He's not a good enough fighter. We're not talking about a one-on-one fight at this particular time. We're talking about Jon is bagged up in prison. If they were able to bag him up and lock him up, they would have executed him.
Jon would have Jon wouldn't have fought him. The way Jon was feeling right then, I think if Grey Worm wanted to kill him, Jon would have got on his knees and goes, "Kill me. I don't care." Like, I don't think he would have given a shit at that point. He did what he thought his duty was, to kill his queen.
It's Sydney Taylor.
Oh, thank you, Bridge. I had it flipped. Tyrion was in prison. Jon went to go see Tyrion, and Tyrion told him to kill Dany. Yeah. So who is there to tell the Unsullied not to kill Jon? The Unsullied must have decided that on their own then. No one's there to say don't kill Jon. They must have taken him into custody instead of murdering him, and then form the council themselves and call the council.
They would have killed him. They don't care about that. Sydney Taylor says it would have been cool to see Jon have a conversation with Jaime about Rhaegar, Rhaella, and Aerys since he knew them. I wanted to see Jon be interested in knowing some about his Targaryen family. You know, I agree that they should have done something about that. Asked about his father. How was my father? What kind of guy was he? Something like that. You know, they should have brought something up like that. You know, they did that with Dany somewhat. You know, with Sir Barristan. Telling her about her family, about Rhaegar and stuff. They could have done that. They could even done it with Dany explaining some of the history. So I agree. They should have done something with that history there.
And I just realized who was there to do it. It was, I'm no big city lord, but Davos probably, or you can't kill him. You can't kill him right now. You need to get approval. We need to see who's king next, and the king will decide Jon's fate. It was Davos. They didn't show it, but it had to be Davos.
They were just listening. Listen, this is a woman who freed them from slavery. They traveled all the way across this fucking sea with, and she gets murdered by the guy who fucking just who she thought loved her. And you think she's not killing her? It's a wrap. That Jon would have never survived that situation. It's just done. No. As KP said, even Drogon would have killed his ass. You wouldn't have burnt the Iron Throne and flew away. You would have burnt Jon's ass and ate him on the spot. You would have burned him and ate him.
Yeah, I hate to be hyperbolic, but it's probably the single most unrealistic thing to happen in most of Game of Thrones, that Jon didn't just get killed right after he killed Dany. And that being in that sort of how tight she had all of her soldiers. And I know we thought all of them died, but there's still some Dothraki left too. They're telling me if the Unsullied don't do it, the Dothraki are going to do it. You think the Dothraki aren't going for Jon? I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine if that's one of those other things that needed explanation. We needed to just keep going with it. We needed to see the immediate aftermath of what happened right after that, right after Drogon flying off and Jon turning himself in.
Cindy saying Daenerys never met her parents or Rhaegar, so it would have made sense for her to tell him anything. She's going to talk about no. Well, Dany asked Barristan about Rhaegar, and Rhaegar told her a whole story. Not Barristan, the fighter. Sir Barristan.
Yeah.
She asked Barristan, and Barristan told her the whole story. How Rhaegar liked to sing. How Rhaegar never liked to fight. He liked to go out in the corner and sing, and then get money. And then when he get money to poor people, he donate the money to the poor people. So she did have some history about him and stuff like that. So I do believe that it would have made sense for her to say that, because he definitely had something else going on there.
What was that comment? Oh, it's not good. Guys, Jon living in the real north, Sansa gifted the kingdom, Arya traveling as she always wanted to, Bran king, Tyrion hand of the king, Cersei and Jaime died together arm in arm. Only Dany suffered. I guess in the end, if we think about the story as a whole, yeah, I mean, in the sense that that Daenerys is the only one that didn't get some sort of happy-ish for herself ending in the scenario. Jon, as much as he got cast off into the north, is free to a certain extent in this scenario of an ending. Bran is king and controlling everything. Jaime did die in the hands of the person he loves, and Cersei had Jaime come back for him.
So if you want to go the route they did, this is how you make it right. I'm gonna tell you that. Even if we did it the exact same way they did it, the
Yeah,
dumb
that's
way
what.
they did it. Let's go through that. They do it. John does that. Drogo then grabs Danny's body and flies away. John goes off to the north. This is what you have to have happen. You have to have Drogon go to the spot where we seen the Night King change the baby, those pillars. And he has to drop Danny's body right inside of those pillars. And then all of a sudden, you got to see Danny's eyes open and turn blue. And then you end it on that. You know what I mean? Like she's in that spot, and now she is the new Night Queen. And instead of a Night King, it's going to be the Night Queen.
And it all happens again.
And she's coming back for your ass now. And then you end the series like that. You have her drop her right in between those pits where that baby was. Have Drogon put her right there, and then she's resurrected as the Night Queen, and she comes back as the Queen. And then you end the series just like that. You know it's going to come back around, and now Jon, you're going to have to answer for what you did to the Night Queen. You do something like that. That's how you make that shit right. If you want to do something like that, you can't just leave it the way it goes. You know what I mean? That's how you do it, man.
Yeah,
That's how you make that shit happen.
Yeah, and I think that's the point of all of this with doing this particular what if. Right? This isn't necessarily to go the perfect scenario of what we would necessarily want in season 8. And I like that you said it that way. It's taking what they did and trying to make it work in a way that would actually be more satisfying for more of the audience. And this isn't to say anyone couldn't find some satisfaction in the ending. And if you liked it, we're not trying to say, you're fucking whatever. But this is just some of the ways that could have just added more depth to these situations. And unfortunately, that comes with the simple thing of saying we needed more time. Instead of 15 episodes or whatever we got, we needed 20, 30 more episodes. We needed another season of establishment, not just the last season. But I think even with the limited times, there were ways that could have tightened things up a little bit more and just keep things making sense.
Yeah, they definitely could have. And they definitely rushed a lot of things. And that's the problem with it is. But I think that's how you end Danny's character. That's how you make it work. But as for Jon going back to the North and everything, I just think that it's very unrealistic of the show that we just seen, that they would allow him to live and then just go off to the wall and that's it.
Yeah, I
agree. That's what they would do. When you read all of George R. R. Martin's books, it never ends like that for the heroes.
Do you think they did it that way because they didn't want to do what ultimately will be his real ending, where he just dies again, or something? They didn't want to kill him twice because they thought that just wouldn't make a lot of sense, and so they wanted to give some sort of triumphant ending to the guy that they had built so much on because they didn't give him the final battle, so they decided not to have him just die in the end or something. I don't know. I tend to always think that Jon will, once the battle's over, fall again, and if he does come back, he won't come back forever. So I don't know. I tend to think that would happen at the end of the battle too, that he would maybe have to sacrifice himself in some ways, but who knows? When the sense of how it's going to be done in the book situation, he's not even back in that yet. he might stay in Ghost the whole time, or at least for all of Winds of Winter. It might happen in a completely different way, and he helps in the final battle by leading the wolf pack with Ghost, and being warged with Bran. George might take it in a completely different direction at this point. Who effing knows?
Yeah, but the way they ended it, just it just doesn't work.
It's tough. It's tough. Work. Okay, so I think the only way, if we're doing our what if thing, I think we're dancing around this, Tony. The way that the best way for Jon to end is he's somehow he kills Dany and they both die at the same time. There, that Jon should die. If he's going to kill Dany in this way, if we're keeping to this scenario, I think Jon's best ending is him dying somehow, sacrificing himself. Dany's surrounded by people. It's like a kill in The Godfather. No one can get to him. I can get to him. You won't survive. Somebody like the only way to get to her, it's like Tyrion says to him, you're the only one that can get close enough to her, because he comes up and embraces her and then stabs her in the back, kind of like Jaime did to the Mad King. And then he's almost immediately taken and killed right there. But he goes out doing what's right for the kingdom. I think that's the best way you can go out with Jon in this scenario.
I think if you wanted to reverse Nisa it, have Dany stand him, have her create the sword, or you have Jon stab Dany, have him create the sword. The sword should have been created when it's all said and done. That's the way they should have done it, and everything else. It should have definitely ended like that. Any other way, it just doesn't really work, and then that's why it didn't work. It's unnatural. It's doesn't work. Oh, Jon just walks beyond the wall, and now he's in the north, just living with all the wildlings out there. They all go back home, and that's it. They weren't going back to that ice fucking burg after they got a taste of that fucking castle life. You think they'd go back out there? Hell no. They ain't going back out there.
Ghost forgives his ass. Jess asks an interesting question. Is there any ending where Jon would be happy?
In the books, I think he'll be happy because he'll have Val there I think Val will be his woman when it's all said and done. So I think he'll be happy that way. You know what I mean? Val will be the love that he has.
Show Jon. I don't think there was any path for him to be happy after they for the watched him. I think at that point in time was where Jon, I think they didn't depict it as well as they should, lost a lot of his humanity and lost any ability to truly be happy after he came back. In my approximation, and we'll have to learn more about that when we see it happen in Winds, in whatever fashion it happens, or in spring, depending on when that happens. But I think, at least I always took it that Jon never truly became happy after they watched him and sacrificed any ability to have a happy ending at that point.
I think in the show, he got his happy ending. He's with his people going beyond the wall, with his wolf, with his people, with his best friend Tormund and everyone else just chilling. They go back beyond the wall, and that's it. And he goes out there and becomes the new Mance Raider.
Tony, Jess has the most important question of the night, though. Sorry. Does Jon even eat light cookies?
He'll learn to.
They shouldn't have had Jon had a dark turn after. They should have had Jon. Exactly. They should have had Jon straight up changed a little bit. I'm not meaning to go too Batman with it, but the Lazarus pit and like coming back with a bloodlust of some sort, or coming back a little changed. Mostly Jon, but a little bit more animalistic on some level, a little bit more wolf-like or something. Yeah. Because I just fit, and that's where you go with the whole him not having enough warging or any warging, and you could have some where he had to bounce into a ghost for too long before he bounced back into himself, and he brought too much of the wolf back with him and had some of that animalistic nature built into him. Like, yes, there should have been all of that, and there wasn't.
Yeah, just like you have with Lady Stoneheart, right? You have her. She's not the same Catelyn. She's bitter. She's mean. She's laid the hang woman. You know what I mean?
Well, that actually sounds like the same Catelyn. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That was bad. That's bad. But yeah, no, exactly. But yeah, Jon will be much darker in the books, and I hope we get that. I hope we get more of. Yeah, of course. I hope we get more of what I just said, because I'd like to see it. I want to see a legitimate Jon. If Jon comes back, does not come back the same.
No doubt. All right, I think we've covered everyone.
Pretty much all the big people. The last thing I kind of want to cover with this whole thing, if we've done all the people, is we just did it, Tony. They hired us at the last minute because Dan and Dave went to go do their Star Wars thing. They hired you. We brought some more of our friends in there. We brought in Mo. We brought in Joe. And we filled the writers' room. We killed it. We banged out this last season. Everyone loved it. People, Game of Thrones, for the most part, the public response to the Game of Thrones finale was like, oh my God, this was good. In the remembrance of it is more similar to the end of something like Breaking Breaking Bad, like where everyone's like, oh, that was a great ending to the television series. How does the landscape of of Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones stuff on HBO change? Do we get a prequel series before that? Do we still get House of the Dragon as the first one in this what if scenario? Do they do Dunk and Egg first? Do they do the one that got canceled about the foundation of the White Walkers and stuff and follow up in the story? What do you think happens if the Game of Thrones finale is a success? Like how does fan reaction and response from the mainstream audience clamoring for more fucking Game of Thrones at that point?
Number one, I think it goes down as one of the greatest shows of all time in history.
Yep.
You know, go like MASH. You know what I mean? The Wire, like it
Wire,
really gets
Sopranos,
ranked,
Breaking Bad.
it gets ranked right there with all that. You know, I think people would be begging for more, that they would have had to put something out right away, you know, because people would have just went Kit Harington and all these other actors as star would have rose even bigger if they would have did that right there. It would have been much better, you know what I mean? So I think you may have gotten something else before that, but you definitely would still have gotten House of the Dragon and stuff. You know, they definitely would have pushed that forward or whatever. They would have said, we're going to do this. We're going to push this right out there and get this, because we got to get these guys. Listen, the reason why they're having this con in February is because they're trying to win back the fans. Yep. There would be no winning back the fans. The fans would be there waiting for the next show, dripping for it. It would just be, you know, a great. They'd be begging for make Dany the Night Queen. I want to see what happens. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. You know, they'll be begging for that. Another season, another show to come on there. Game of Thrones Part 2. You know what I mean? They would be begging for that. So I think that's what they ruined it.
Yeah, I think KP just said they would House of the Dragon would happen, but they'd probably push it faster. I think you might have seen maybe some more stuff afterwards, like features with the actors, breakdowns of the final season with actors doing commentaries, and more public appearances, more excitement from everyone coming off of it if it was a success. And you might have seen maybe a brief animated thing produced, showing some histories, some just to kind of like go on to it instead of going all the money into just immediately House of the Dragon. I think we would have, House of the Dragon, COVID aside, would have premiered sooner. Absolutely.
No doubt about it. And I'm not going to get into the Eternals. I'll just say that sucks. And that's
I didn't get to see it yet.
It's disgusting. But besides that, yeah, it would have definitely been something much more. All these stars, all this thing would have been better with that. You know what I mean? So they ruined everything for all these actors.
No, they did in a sense, because and to a lot of people, we've talked about this a lot before. House of the Dragon, I think needs to concentrate, and hopefully it does, on just building a new audience. I think just focusing straight up on that. They're not going to get back a lot of the people that not the Song of Ice and Fire loyalists. The mainstream people aren't going to watch this right away, and they're going to wait for people to tell them it's awesome, you should check it out, and they're going to be bringing in a lot of baggage too. So I think they need to just form their own stuff and form their own audience and separate themselves as much from the original series as possible, and just try to create a good series and not try to do too much repair work, and just produce the best series possible.
Since they're talking about, go on my channel. I did it. Go on my Marvel playlist. I did a video like 3 years ago that tells you that this phase of Marvel was going to fail. And I tell you exactly why this phase of Marvel is going to fail. Next one will be good, but that this phase was not going to work. And
the next one's
like 3 years ago, and go look at it right now. You'll see how much that video keeps everyone in the comment section. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And everything I said was point on. And that's the dead ass truth. And this phase of Marvel sucks. Every movie that came out is terrible. They haven't put out a good movie yet. Spider-Man, I expect to be good. But every other movie they put out this year, whether Shang-Chi is terrible, the Eternals is terrible. There's nothing there that you can say.
I think the reason why Spider
sucks. Black Widow was terrible. There's nothing you could say they put out there that was good for this phase. It all was terrible.
I think Spider-Man is going to be good because it's going to be the one that issues in, and this isn't a spoiler. I don't know spoilers. It's going to be the one that issues in the next phase because it's going to open up the multiverse for the X-Men to come in, and I think the X-Men are going to be all about Phase 5. That's
Phase 5.
Phase 5 will be X-Men all the way.
The Black Widow was better than the Eternals. That's just telling you how bad Eternals.
I guess the best thing from this one for me was WandaVision.
WandaVision was, but it wasn't great. I mean, it
wasn't great. No, it wasn't great.
It wasn't great. It wasn't great.
That or Loki were probably the best.
Shang-Chi was not good. There was nothing good about that movie. It really was boring. It dragged too long. I mean, I liked some of the fight scenes, but it dragged too more. The dragon at the end and all that stuff, that was just dumb. It was just dumb. It's the fuzzy guy with no face was stupid with the wings. It was just corny. It was real corny. Shang-Chi, it just didn't work. That's just the way it is and everything. I think we have wrapped it up here.
No. I mean, we don't want to bash this one too much with a hammer. We just felt like there was a little bit more to say from the end of last week to top it off. And as Tony always does, we'll open it up to any questions you guys.
Yeah.
If you want to call on in at 781-990-8509 and ask a question about anything about this subject or anything, we'll open it up for
we'll do a little ask me anything. We'll give you 10 minutes for ask me anything, and we'll go for a little bit longer than everything else, and then we'll be out of here. And the next week we'll be back to the normal what if topics, and that'll be it.
So watched it several times. It was Iron Man. WandaVision was their chance to get into the mutants, and they didn't do it. I mean, we got a little bit of the tease with the Quicksilver stuff. Yes, WandaVision was the problem with WandaVision was it was a lot of build up, a lot of jerk and no explosion. Like they got you built up, and then the payoff just wasn't special.
No, that Phil, you read that stupid. I think I've been reading them all night.
Tony and Phil, thank you so much for these what if videos. I love both your channels. I'm new to the Song of Ice and Fire, and I'm learning so much from you. Thank you so much, and thank you so much for checking out both our channels. We both appreciate anyone that subs to and joins the fun and joins the silly discussions. It's going to be a fun year talking about all these what ifs and other random stuff we'll do on Wednesday evenings, and obviously when some new shows happen, and I'll have Tony on my channel as well for some fun stuff. And I've got a cool announcement thing I'm going to do pretty soon too that should be fun as well.
No doubt about it. People say, did you see the Ant-Man punch the lizard? Yeah, you could see him. He's really tiny and the lizard falls back in that. If it's Ant-Man, but it's either Ant-Man or it's someone that that they reduped in there and stuff. But yes, I definitely did see the lizard fly back when there apparently is nothing around them and stuff.
Yeah, or I've also heard that it possibly is one of the other Spider-Men photoshopped out. If you look at it and the way it's edited, you can cut people. You can see where they might have cut the characters out, and they've done that before, like in the trailers for Endgame, when they took out the Hulk or made Banner as the Hulk, and then in the movie he's in the Hulkbuster armor.
Yep. Lord Corley's Wi-Fi says, "What the hell was Sam thinking staying silent at the end of the season when the beginning of the season he was begging Jon to claim his birthright?" I think it's a plot hole that they didn't follow up on. I think that's what happened there with Sam. I think it was just a straight plot hole that they don't realize what they're writing, and then when they do that, those things happen.
Yeah, it seemed like towards the end there, they didn't know what to do exactly with Sam. And that gets into what we were talking about earlier with the Jon's parental information. It seemed like once the information got together, once the two information sources got together, Bran's the one that took the information to present to Jon, even though you would think that, as Tony was mentioning earlier, Jon might take the information a little bit more accurately from Sam that has factual written evidence to back it up, instead of Bran saying, "I traveled there in time and I saw it." So At least but I guess Jon believes a little bit more in the supernatural aspects of that world, and he doesn't think that Bran would fake it. But I still think Sam was conveniently absent a lot at the end of the story, except to be a butt of a joke. And again, he's someone that I wouldn't have minded dying in the Battle of Winterfell, considering Sam's running around there and somehow he survived all of that. And
Gilly, all of these people, this survived this thing. Like, it really wasn't that big of a threat.
no, a minor inconvenience.
That's all it was. Supposed to be the long night. There was no long night here. It was
like, no, it really was. No, we didn't realize that that was so literal. It wasn't, no, Tony, like, it was a long night, but when you say the long night, it implies it's going to be a very long time. But no, the long night, it was just one night. It was a long night.
People have Canelo the GOAT. How is Canelo the GOAT? He's not close to being the GOAT. He got beat up by Floyd Mayweather when Floyd Mayweather was an old man. So how could he be the greatest of all time when he couldn't even beat a old Floyd Mayweather?
I saw someone say it in the chat earlier, and yeah, I'll get the fight, and Tony and I can do play by play again. What's going to happen to Logan Paul when he gets in a ring with Tyson? What would happen to the world if Logan Paul knocked out a 50-year-old Mike Tyson?
That would never happen. Mike Tyson. I think the real reason why it would never happen is I think that he would be so afraid of Mike Tyson. When he sees Mike Tyson across from him in that ring, Tyson's not Holyfield, like an old man like that. So you're not going to be able to just hit him and get him out. He would be so afraid of Mike Tyson.
I hope Mike knocks him the hell out.
Tyson actually look you in the face. He's going to be so much on defense. He ain't going to be thinking about throwing a punch back.
He's going to be packing Mike's ball. He's going to be giving Mike a lot of blunts before he's like, Mike, smoke another one. Mike, just get. But Mike's going to go in there, and I think he's going to find it a lot more freeing to fight Paul than he did against Roy Jones.
Well, Roy's a professional boxer, and he knows how to professionally hold you.
Exactly.
And this guy doesn't know how to hold like that. And
he's going to want everything we know about Paul as a boxer that we've seen so far. He's going to want to punch with Mike. He's going to want to put on a show, and he's going to catch a couple of Tyson shots to the head and go down fast.
One shot to the head isn't over. The thing about boxing, the whole thing, that's the reason why George Foreman was able to become champion when he's still so old, was because, you know what I mean? I'm going to answer this question too from Jackie C. It's power doesn't go away. Whether you're old or not, reflexes go away, speed goes away. But if you can hit hard, you hit hard for the rest of your life.
And people asking if this is happening, I'm pretty sure they signed it. I think it is happening.
I think it's just about. I think it's going to happen. When is After Dark coming back? All right. So the thing about After Dark, hopefully we will do After Dark again. I promise you. So what I'm going to do is, because I think that when I do it on this channel, it kind of messes up the algorithm when I do these topics. So I'm going to start another channel just basically for topics like After Dark. And I'll let you know what the channel is, and then you can subscribe to the channel. And I'm just going to do all the After Darks and things like that on that channel.
That makes sense.
Instead of this one. All right, so that way it'll be there, and then I'll leave those ones up on the channel. I'll never take it down, so you don't have to be able to watch them and stuff like that. So we'll move it over to that channel and stuff like that, you know what I mean? And that's what it'll be. But I'll let you know exactly when that happens and stuff like that, you know what I mean? Anna will be there, Christina the Sphinx will be there, Elamar will be there. You know, we'll have everybody on the After Dark, so we normally do, but we're just going to move it over there. You know what I mean? And push it over there. And if you want to join this, or if anyone else to join, but we're definitely going to push it over to this new channel and stuff like that. All right? But we're definitely bringing the After Darks back. Don't think we're not doing them again.
Yeah, the holiday season it's perfect. Once the winter hits, we want to go out less on weekend nights, and After Darks come back. It's tough in the fall, like right before the winter. It's like you want to go out as much as possible when you have time. And it's like Tony's like, do I go out on a Saturday night, or do I stay home and do it After Dark? I don't blame you. Go out every Saturday night you can till it's winter, and we're gonna have way worse than the long night in Boston and New York every year with snowstorms. Like,
it's already snowing right now, so it's going to be a very long winter for us here in New York and the East Coast. I think up here, without a shadow of a doubt, I think any of us are going to get it and everything else and stuff like that.
Winter is coming.
That is what it is. All right, so I would say thank everybody. So I got to get to bed. I do. I work today overtime, and I got to work tomorrow. Usually I don't work today. That's why I'm, more energetic and everything else. I still gotta do some things before I get to hit the sack and stuff like that. And 4 a.m. comes really fast. So thank everybody for joining us here, especially on the stream. We'll be back again Wednesday, same time, same place, with another What If series. We'll be doing that. Phil, let the people know what you're doing on this channel this week, so they can find you.
Me and Joe and I will be on this week. Joe's dealing with a family matter. Lots of love to the Dirty Locks family, Papa Larry.
No doubt about it.
Lots of love. But if Joe is able, we're going to be doing the next thing Joe and I are going to be doing is our favorite sitcom list, or not favorite. We're going to go to the IMDb or the Rotten Tomatoes top sitcoms of all time and just give our thoughts on the list and see what we like and what we don't like while we're waiting for some shows that we're waiting to talk about to come back and come on. But definitely subscribe to Fill the Issues Guy. Some of the shows coming up, we're going to be talking about Better Call Saul, the final season of the Ozarks coming up soon, and lots of other random stuff popping up. And I also might have a new channel starting soon too that I'll tell you guys more about later. I just have to figure a few things out. So I'll let you guys know about that later too. So you might not be the only one with a new channel and doing some stuff too. So
that's what's up. We look forward to it. Thank you, everybody in the chat. And yes, later down podcast, will be back. Promise you that when Lamar is ready to go. She just got the work schedule. She has to work to figure that out, and then we'll be back doing that. And if you like the way we do this, please thumbs up this. Please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.